Why have I asked my electrician I found on Angie.com to bury my pet hamster? I was so moved by how carefully he buried my electrical wires, I knew I could trust him to bury my sweet nibbles after his untimely end.
This is very strange.
Angie, the one you trust to find the ones you trust. Find pros for all your home projects at Angie.com.
To get the Crime Writers on After Show right now, go to patreon.com/partners in crime media.
I'm Rebecca Lavoie, and this is Crime Writers On. Crime Writers On is the original true crime review podcast that digs into true crime, pop culture, other podcasts. And on this episode, they were casualties in the war on drugs. Why didn't their deaths affect changes to the system? We'll talk about the podcast series Collateral Damage from the Intercept. Joining me to get that done and more is true crime author, TV journalist, and host of These Are Their Stories podcast, my husband and love of my life, Kevin Flynn. Hello, Kevin.
I'm not talking to you.
Why?
Because you keep sexually harassing me on your other podcast.
We'll talk about that. Also with us, private investigator, certified pet detective, resident cat lady, and author of the Piper Green series of cozy mysteries, Laura Bricker. Hi, Laura.
Hey, Rebecca.
And finally, all the way from Valencia, Spain, author of the City trilogy of novels, host of Rip Current, More Like Ancient Phalians, and the podcast soon to be a major motion picture, Strange Arrivals. It's Toby Ball. Que pasa, Toby?
Hey, Rebecca.
All right, Kevin, what's coming up on next Monday's Crime Writers On?
So on Monday, we're going to be talking about the podcast from iHeart. It's called What Happened in Nashville.
All right. So I am sorry about the sexual harassment.
That's okay.
And also not sorry.
I'm actually kind of flattered. So
yes. Kevin is getting heavily sexualized on Something's Off.
Oh, good.
I showed Mel the photo of Kevin in his little bathing suit, which, by the way, you can also see if you sign up for our Patreon. He posted it there.
I just, kind of overexposed.
You're welcome, ladies.
Yes.
Part of the new calendar.
That's the title. You're welcome, ladies.
Yes. But, Mel has made the observation that she believes Kevin is very well endowed, and she brings it up anytime his name comes up in the podcast. Does she not?
She does, and I'm
Does
grateful.
he have a nickname now?
No, she just says... she's just like...
The horse.
No,
yeah.
She's just like, hey, Rebecca, your husband with the big dick. Like, that comes up all the time.
Yeah.
Comes up, and I'm just like, dude, my mother-in-law might watch this someday. And then I'm like, all right, it's not me saying it, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi to all the parents dropping their kids off at school this morning.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Hello, everyone. Yes. Yeah, and every time it comes up, I'm like, Kevin is going to love it that we sexualize him so much on the show. And then I'm secretly afraid that he doesn't love it. And then I come up and tell him and he gets this little twinkle in his eye.
Life goals.
It's not nice to sexualize women, but men are kind of okay with it. That's just the way the world is. We're like, more, please.
You're just like, because it's your wife
Treat
doing
me badly. I'm okay with it.
All you've ever wanted is to be seen as like a deeply sexual creature.
Absolutely.
Okay. So should we talk about the thing we're supposed to be talking about in this podcast? A little more serious than that.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Leading off.
All wars have collateral damage. The people whose deaths are tragic but deemed necessary for the greater cause. But once the country dehumanized people suspected of using and selling drugs, we were more willing to accept some collateral damage.
From no-knock warrants and phony police informants to civil forfeiture to international narcotics interdiction, the U.S. war on drugs has affected more than just traffickers. The highly provocative methods have caused the deaths of innocent bystanders, often with no consequences for those responsible.
I can see inside the restroom. So when the officer kicked the door open and said freeze, and when Trayvon raised his hands, it was just, the guy just shot him, and then the whole house just went silent.
Animated by decades of political cries stoking fear and anger, police departments have gained more power in their tactics, which look more like combat than law enforcement. And the deaths of people caught in the crossfire are now accepted as necessary sacrifices in the quest for a drug-free America.
It has militarized and aggressive policing, abusive informants, a no-knock dynamic entry raid, rampant police corruption, perverse incentives, and well-intentioned policies with horrific unintended consequences.
In each episode of the podcast, Collateral Damage from the Intercept, investigative reporter Radley Balko uncovers an unjust or avoidable death as a result of the government's questionable enforcement policies and practices. The series distills the war on drugs down to the personal stories of bystanders who lost their lives or livelihood as collateral damage to the dangerous and quixotic goal of saving a nation from itself. Spoiler alert, we're going to be talking about plot points from Collateral Damage. So if you want to remain spoiler-free, go to the estimated time code in your show notes for our thumbs up or thumbs down reviews. Now, Toby, when I think about your Mount Rushmore, your Hall of Fame, the people that you talk about all the time, I think about like David Gran. I think about, anybody who writes for The New Yorker.
Patrick Radden Keefe. And I think about Radley Balko. You talk about this dude all the time. When I heard he was the one hosting this podcast, I thought, something tells me Toby might like this one. Your thoughts?
Yeah, when we started doing this, I used to talk about him more. He doesn't have a column in the Washington Post anymore, but he's done incredible work reporting on law enforcement militarization, law enforcement overreach, bad forensics. I think Kevin was actually on the deep dive when we talked about a book that he'd done called The Cadaver King and the Country Dentist about shitty
book.
Forensics in Mississippi. So he's really been at the forefront, I think, journalistically and sort of documenting this stuff. And in this podcast, like he revisits some of these things, but it's all kind of under the umbrella of the war on drugs. I remember one specific, I think it was a series of articles about how police in the towns around, I think, St. Louis were actually stopping motorists of color to give them like these bogus speeding tickets, which they used to fund their town's budgets. Mm-hmm. So he's been sort of a journalistic hero of mine for a while. And you were right when I flipped the thing on. It's like, I'm Radley Balko. I was like, oh shit, like this is going to be awesome. And it was.
Yeah. He's a good host, Kevin, right?
Oh, yeah, I thought so. Yeah. I can't think of another journalist I'd rather have do this kind of series.
But the sort of investigation that brings down a major drug distributor takes a lot more time and typically results in fewer arrests. The perverse thing about these grants is that because they're tied to raw arrest numbers, officers are incentivized to go after low-level offenders because there are more of them and they need the numbers. And that's exactly what Kathryn Johnston's case shows was happening in Atlanta.
When you think about it, it's like, how come we haven't had 10 Radley Balko podcast
because Leon Nayfock has been making him. That's why.
Oh, because he's been making him. But I mean, like, he's absolutely a natural, not only because this has like been his bailiwick for so long, but they also put together like a really great series that, it does play out like an anthology. I was thinking about like The Devil You Know, and this doesn't go so far afield from the central premise as that one did. It's like the story of individual people, and what they have in common is that they are casualties. They are literally collateral damage to the government's drug war, and they're cautionary tales. And so each story is on point, and it's really well told and thought-provoking. So it doesn't need to be sort of an investigation where this one leads to that one. And, in the end, we're just like, well, systemic change. Oh, well, I wouldn't say it's a series of essays, but it's a series of like really interesting reports that play on a common theme.
Now, Laura, we recently listened to a podcast, semi-recently, from the Boston Globe about confidential informants. What do you think about the initial story in this series where it's the informant who actually ends up kind of being the whistleblower to the whole thing?
Yeah. So this is the case. This is this 92-year-old woman in Atlanta, and she's killed in her house by police who go to the wrong house for a drug raid.
The officers responded with a swarm of 39 bullets screaming through Johnston's living room. They shot her 5 or 6 times. 3 cops were struck too, but by shrapnel from bullets fired by their fellow officers. They would eventually call an ambulance for those wounded colleagues. They would not call an ambulance for Kathryn Johnston.
And then they toss some drugs in the basement to be like, no, this 92-year-old lady is a drug dealer, or she's housing drug dealers. And then they call the CI and they're basically you need to say that there's drugs here or whatever. And the CI's like, I'm not getting involved in covering up the death of a 92-year-old woman. First of all, CIs are treated horribly. And you hear that later in this series. You hear how the juvenile who was brought in as a CI dies a horrible death. So to be a CI and to feel so strongly about not getting involved that you're willing to stand up against the police when something like this happens, that took some courage. But at the same time, what the fuck is wrong with the police, man? I get it. They want to get drugs off the streets and all that. But at what cost? And that obviously is the premise behind this podcast. But I don't see how even a police officer who's like, oh shit, we're going to get in trouble, could get into that position where they think that the best course of action is to try to cover their tracks when a 92-year-old woman has been killed completely illegally, completely improperly, like just so out of bounds of what should have happened. That was a good story to start this series off with because it gets your attention. Like some of the other ones can be a little dry, like some of the other examples, but this one, I don't see how anybody that listens wouldn't be affected by that.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I mean, the use of confidential informants, as we know from other things we've listened to and talked about, is kind of bananas because the police don't have to say who they are, and they can say that the confidential informant literally told them anything. And that's how they're getting warrants, and that's how they're securing arrests, and that's what they're testifying to in court. You know, I think when I really first started thinking about the brokenness of this system was when we were listening, or in the aftermath of listening to Serial, when it became pretty clear from a lot of the digging that Susan Simpson and the Undisclosed team did that Jay Wilds was a confidential informant, that he had a long-standing relationship with the police, and that he was in a position of being used to leveraging one piece of information for something else, like getting an arrest erased or whatever. It's a wildly, wildly corrupt system. And Toby, can you talk about that second story we hear about this very young CI who made this deal like when he was in high school so that he wouldn't get in trouble, and then what happens to him after that?
Right. This is LeBron Gaither.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and so he makes this deal because it seems like it's going to keep him out of what would have been like trouble, but not sort of life-ending type situation. They talked about how his mother would have sort of counseled him against cooperating, but you know, he becomes a confidential informant. And in a very unusual and just sort of insane move, he's brought in to testify in front of a grand jury. And so these people on the grand jury see him. And one of them is friends with this drug dealer who he's informing on, tells the drug dealer. And there's this very sort of heartbreaking incident in which he goes to meet the drug dealer. He's wearing a wire. The thing he's supposed to say is, "I wish my brother were here." And that's like the signal that stuff's going wrong and the cops are supposed to come in and save him. But because this guy already knows that he's an informant, everything happens really fast and the cops are just caught like basically with their pants down. And so they're not around. Like these guys leave and the cops aren't able to follow them. So when he starts raising the signal that things have gone wrong, there's nobody there to help him. And he ends up dead. So this one of the themes of all this, I think, is sort of a combination of arrogance and carelessness of law enforcement in these situations where it feels as though they're sort of overly confident in themselves and then just really aren't taking the steps necessary to safeguard members of the public who are innocent or who are working for the police. In those situations, it kind of happens again and again and again. Like you end up with this guy who killed this cop who ends up having killed 3 people and then retires and becomes a use of force expert, which was just insane. Yeah.
He knows how to use force, though.
Yeah,
Can you
he
talk
does.
about that, Kevin? Because you made a note about that, too.
Oh, I think it's fucking crazy. I'm with Toby on that. I mean, just how do you become... I mean, I guess, you know, those who can't teach or whatever the fuck, you're just going to start shooting. I mean, 3 times. Like, I you know, there are just so many echoes over the decades about this kind of thing, about the lengths that individual cops will go, and then on a parallel track, their agencies to go to cover their tracks when they break the rules.
Like
or
reflexively do it.
Right. Or just making a mistake. Right. I mean, they double down on like, now we have to go like in the case from Atlanta. Now we have to go like, fake a bunch of warrants. So it looks like that, we didn't just go on the wrong fucking door and kill the 92-year-old woman. It was legit. And we're just going to reflexively say, no, they were in the right and blame it on somebody else. There are echoes. What can I say? There are echoes of that. And I shouldn't be shocked every time we get one of these stories because we keep getting them over and over again. And it's not anything new. But every time it happens, I'm like, I can't believe that happened.
Yeah, it's the reflexive nature of it that bothers me because you hear about these cases like the gun trace task force in Baltimore. There was an Atlanta scandal, a Philadelphia scandal, a New York scandal, a Boston scandal. Yeah. And there's always this idea that like, are you trying to tell me that a bunch of cops got together and decided to do this cover up or whatever? And it's like, no, I'm telling you that this is how they work. This is what they do. They get up, they fuck up, they cover it up, they get up the next day. And granted, I don't feel like I should have to say this anymore. We're not talking about all police because we're not. But like the reflexive institutional acceptance of the idea that like you don't even have to collaborate anymore because everybody just knows they can say whatever they want and do whatever they want. We saw it with the administration's initial response to the ICE shooting the other day. It was like immediate reaction. Oh, they were being attacked by this guy there. And it's like, guys, there's video that we all saw. And that's the only reason why the story didn't
if you don't get it on video, you can just spin it.
Even you can know the story is bullshit. You can think it's bullshit, but literally it has to be on camera. Or people just, for some reason, these cops get away over and over and over again with these reflexive cover-ups. Laura, you're in defense. So how does this make you feel as a defense investigator? If you were ever in a position where you had a client and like, this is you must like have a lot of feelings about this.
Oh, I mean, yeah, because this is why I do what I do. One of the reasons is keeping the system fair. And you have populations of people that are seen by the authorities and seen by the police as expendable, and that whatever, their rights aren't as important as the rest of our rights. And this is, for the greater good that we're going to do this, or they're not really going to follow up on this. So it's bullshit. I mean, I see it all the time in my work where like you'll get information and like discovery is blacked out. And then you have to jump through hoops to get the full information, even though you're entitled to it as part of reciprocal, and luckily in New Hampshire here, we have the Lori list. So anytime I have a case now, I pull up the names of the officers in the case and I go get the most current version of the Lori list. And I see if any of the officers involved in my cases have been put on that Lori list, which is a list of New Hampshire officers that have something of dishonesty on their record. And that has to be disclosed, that they're not credible. So when you see like multiple not credible officers, like I had one case where I had multiple not credible officers in the same case, and it was infuriating to me because the person that was on the other side, the defendant in that case, was somebody from a marginalized population that, everyone's like, what does it matter? Well, it matters because it's not fucking right.
Yeah.
It's not fair. So yes, that's what I think about that, Rebecca. No, it's just, so hearing these stories, I think my takeaway at the end of this, one of the things that I was like, this is great. Like we are hearing all these things, like he has set up a great summary of why this isn't working. But who's doing something about this? Like, where do we go now? What does this mean now? Yes, we have all these cases where we see these things happen. Okay, cool. Like who in a position of authority is going to be able to say, yeah, no, this isn't working, man. This isn't right.
Yeah.
It's not working.
What's not working?
What's not working? This segue into the Patreon business section.
We're in the business section.
It's just not working. I didn't quite get it there.
We're there.
Didn't stick the landing.
It's the business section.
Hey, a way that you can keep this show going, support us. Be a sustaining member of our Patreon. Be a patron at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia. Do us the great honor of keeping our show in your feeds, downloading, podcasting all the time. Plus, you get all sorts of exclusive content for your troubles. You'll get the Crime Writers on After Show, Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club podcast, Married with Podcast, Something's Off, and Laura Bricker's Leave It to Bricker. If you come in at the Let's Do What We Do level, you'll get episodes of Crime Writers on early and ad-free. And if you are a deep diver, you get to be one of the official sponsors of Toby Ball's Deep Dive Book Club podcast. This month, Toby and his guests are reading The Lumumba Plot, The Secret History of the CIA and a Cold War Assassination by Stuart Reed. Toby, who are your guests?
Deep dive favorite Alex Segura and esteemed podcast producer Livy Burdett.
Esteemed indeed.
I can't wait for that discussion. Another way that you can support us is by going to our Amazon storefront.
Yes.
And when you go there, you can see some of our favorite things. Rebecca, what are this week's Amazon recommendations?
Well, something I'm waiting for to arrive that I'm very excited about is this tiny little portable washing machine for my delicates, because we had that little washer under our big washer and it broke, and it's going to cost like $800 to replace. Or I was recommended to buy this one for $40 from Amazon. Put your little cashmere sweater in there, let it spin a little bit, hanging on your thingy. Yeah, I'm very excited to receive
It's like one of those salad mixers.
It looks like a salad spinner, yeah, but it's a little portable washing machine. It was only $40.
But it's for your delicates.
What does it plug into?
The wall.
Does he have to have a hose into the wall too?
No, it's just you plug it in, you put water in it, it does your little gentle wash, and then you can hang up your shit. It is like a salad spinner.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I'll let you know how it works.
I like the sound of that. Toby Ball, what are your listeners?
That's because I do the laundry. That's why you like the sound of that.
I already like that. You had me at laundry. Toby, what are your listener-inspired Toby Ball's deep cut recommendations?
This is actually my Kevin Flynn-inspired deep cut Amazon recommendation. Jock mail, men's swimming shorts, sexy men's swimsuits, swim boxer briefs, bathing suits, men's swim briefs with pouch. U.S. Alpha Large, regular N.
Yeah, that is my purchase.
Kevin bought that. Kevin was sporting the jock mails.
Yeah, that's mine.
I was just joking. I just thought it was
No, I had to get it from Amazon. Yeah, no.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Cute.
Yes.
So I better
read another one quickly.
Keep moving along.
Prosthetic penis to make oneself look big while
Exactly.
wearing the jock mail bathing suit.
One cucumber. Over-the-door organizer for toy guns, hanging toy guns, storage organizer with pockets and slots for kids' foam blasters, darts, goggles, toys, storage D.
So it's a gun safe for Nerf pistols?
It apparently is.
All right.
Can't start safety too early, Rebecca.
Yeah, it's true.
Hey, just when you go to Amazon, just stop at us for shop us at amazon.com/shop/Crime Writers On. We earn commissions on qualified purchases.
Kevin,
including banana hammocks.
the fact that your little tiny bathing suit with the purchase, I'll never get over that. Before we end the business section, Kevin, do we have any Patreon patron saints of the week this week?
Our Patreon patron saints are Holly Ann Munson and Bethany Nam. Bless you.
Bethany! Holly Ann!
Okay, Holly Ann's been with us for years and years, and I'm so happy that you won. But Bethany, she kind of dropped the hint that she would like to be a Patreon patron saint after she helped me with some free legal advice.
She helped me with some free legal advice too.
Well, yes, but what are you
when
going
my
to do?
stove died.
Well, she did, right? And she looked up some citations for me. She's in California, and she found New Hampshire case law that helped me with my ongoing lawsuit that someday I will talk about.
I can't wait for you to talk about that.
And now she's going to be disbarred for practicing law outside of her.
She did not make an appearance. She did not ghostwrite. She did absolutely everything. That's absolutely fine. So, Holly Ann, Bethany, thank you so much for being Patreon patron saints of the week.
We should also mention that Bethany is also an artist and has sent us some little art things that we've actually used for the program. So,
yeah, she's great.
Very good friend of the show. So are you, Holly Ann. All right. Should I end this business section now, Kevin?
Yeah, thus ends the business section.
Let's fade that music out. Kevin?
Yes?
Who are we sponsored by this time?
We're sponsored by Quince.
Oh, my favorite.
Quince is all about elevated essentials that feel effortless, designed for layering and mixing. Each piece helps build a timeless wardrobe made to last. Rebecca, have you ever purchased anything from Quince?
Well, Kevin.
All right, hold on. Let's just set the scene. I actually have here a bag. Says Quince on the outside. This is your latest purchase. Let's do an unbagging.
It was just delivered today.
Mm-hmm.
And you made me wait.
I know.
All right, let's see what I got here.
Let's show me. Now, you know what this is. I don't.
Okay.
Oh, that's a nice sweater.
It is a Luxe baby cashmere cardigan, cable knit.
Oh, this feels nice. Cable knit. What's the color?
I think this is the oatmeal. It's a very icy. It's so beautiful. This was one of my aspirational sweaters, and then I saw it at Quince, and I was like, oh my God.
And you got it.
I did.
Yeah, okay. So Rebecca single-handedly keeping everybody at Quince employed.
Thanks.
And you can help them too by refreshing your wardrobe with Quince. Go to quince.com/crime for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too.
Yay!
That's QUINCE.com/crime.
Crime.
Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/crime.
Cashmere. Crime.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
Why have we asked our contractor we found on Angie.com to be our kids' legal guardian? Because he took such good care when redoing our basement that we knew we could trust him to care for our kids, all 8 of them, should something happen to us.
Are you my dad now?
No, sorry, I do basements. Connecting homeowners with skilled pros for over 30 years. Angie, the one you trust to find the ones you trust. Find pros for all your home projects at Angie.com.
So, Toby, can you talk about the story of Peter McWilliams? Because that one is sort of a standalone story that is very different from the others in the podcast.
Yeah, so this is Peter McWilliams is a guy who ended up having both HIV and cancer. And he needed marijuana to fight his nausea, which would allow him to keep his medications down. And if he didn't have it, he would throw up his medications. They would not take effect on him or whatever. So in this sort of zero tolerance drug war at the time, which I think was in the 80s, because he had marijuana for medical uses, and he was also, if I'm remembering correctly, he was also providing that marijuana to other people who also needed it for medical uses.
Yes.
He was considered a drug kingpin by the government and pursued as that. And it's just, you know, now that almost every state, I think, has medical marijuana laws at this point, but this is at a time when it was complete prohibition. And the idea that you would treat a guy who is basically trying to stay alive through the use of it the same as somebody who is selling pounds and pounds and pounds of it and trying to put it out on the streets and stuff, you know, which, again, I'm not saying selling marijuana is the worst thing in the world, but treating those two things equally in the 80s, I think, you know, it seems insane. And again, I think it's largely put in as, you know, this was the mindset, right? That when you're at war, there's no mercy, right? There's no way in which you can make exceptions for certain people because of circumstances in which they're using it. Like if you're using it and you're providing it to other people, like it's black and white, like you're a drug kingpin, even if in providing that you're trying to keep them alive or, you know, help them deal with what are going to be terminal diseases.
They have lied to us about medical marijuana. They have lied to us about the harm of marijuana. There is no more benign medicinal substance known to human beings. And we have been lied about this.
I don't know if other people got other things out of that story, but it was just reminiscent of, I guess, that time and when the messaging and the understanding of these things was so black and white. It was the Nancy Reagan just say no years, right? And there wasn't room to find shades of gray or uses for, especially like marijuana, which is such a it's not crack cocaine or heroin.
Not according to Ronald Reagan, it's the worst drug ever.
It's the worst of them all, yeah. Says a guy who's, you know, probably never seen marijuana.
So of course he has. He's an actor.
He's an actor.
Are you kidding?
Dude, are you kidding me? He's not that kind of actor. He's like hanging out with John Wayne, like making fun of hippies.
No, probably.
But Toby, it wasn't even the Ronald Reagan era. It was the Clinton era where they all of a sudden, when California decriminalized or whatever, they had their first, you know, medical marijuana law. And it was like every cabinet secretary is going to come out and talk about how they're going to fight the states on this. But it's so funny that you think about so many of the characters and incidents in this series revolve not around cocaine or fentanyl, but around marijuana.
Yep.
And today, in a lot of those places, it's decriminalized or it's legalized or something like that. And the one other thing that I really got out of this was this one comment that they made in the episode about New York City and the no-knock warrants there, is that like the theory behind it is that you need to bust in quick because if you announce yourself, they're going to get rid of the evidence. And it's like, okay, you know, you can dump a little bit of marijuana, but you can't or cocaine or whatever, but you can't dump a whole lot of it.
A plant.
A drug kingpin amount.
Yeah, to the extent that you need, the 30 cop amount, right? And so to the effect that the amount that you could get rid of, you don't need 30 officers for that. You're not going to do whatever. But this whole idea that you got to go in heavy all the time, it's like, oh, the math doesn't work on that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, aside from the points that they established that like these flashbang grenades can kill somebody with a heart attack, right?
Yeah.
Or burns or some shit like that, especially if you throw it in the wrong fucking apartment right? Or you come in hard and you don't announce yourself properly. And of course the homeowner is going to think you're a burglar or something like that. And there's going to be an exchange of fire. And in one instance, a 92-year-old grandmother dies. And in another instance we hear about, the cop dies because of these clusterfucks.
You know, it was actually Nixon that began the war on drugs.
Yeah.
And we did an episode about this on a podcast I oversee, Civics 101. And for Nixon, it was purely political.
Those damn hippies.
It was all about making people scared of hippies and black people. That's all it was. And that's where the whole marijuana is the worst drug ever kind of began with the scheduling. It was a Schedule I drug. Laura, Kevin mentioned no-knock warrants, and that's a theme that comes up several times in the podcast. And they actually use a very famous case, Trayvon Cole's case. They discussed Breonna Taylor a couple of times. There's another case where it was covered up immediately. But they actually talk about the Trayvon Cole case and other no-knock warrant cases. What do you think about this? It shouldn't even be a controversy, but this controversy around this insane police practice.
Yeah, it is insane because let's look at how many times they've no-knocked and gone in and been at the wrong place, freaked somebody out who doesn't know who the hell's coming in because they haven't announced themselves and somebody's gotten hurt. And I'm trying to remember the circumstances. We had a case here on the Seacoast where one of our local police chiefs who was killed when the drug task force was trying to execute a warrant. So this Trayvon Cole case, you know, he's unarmed. He's shot in the head by police during a no-knock raid over a tiny bit of weed. And basically, these Las Vegas police raid his apartment. He's with his pregnant fiance. He occasionally was selling a little bit of marijuana. He goes to the bathroom to flush some of it. The officer follows him and shoots him in the head. This guy has no criminal record. So you're going into somebody that deals a small amount of marijuana with no criminal record. What about that justifies the need for a no-knock warrant? The no-knock warrant, if it's even used at all, you know, serious situations, not just this
like
guy.
A kidnap victim is inside or something,
wait
right?
for it. They executed the warrant. The reason they went to his house, because they linked him to a different Trayvon Cole with a criminal history in Texas, not this person. And despite this misidentification, the cop who did this is cleared. And this cop had also previously shot 2 other people. So you're like, at what point does somebody say, stop? Like, this is not working. Yeah. So that was a good case to highlight. But it's also, again, listening to this, it's maddening that these are not like subtle examples. These are serious examples. And it's like, you know, you hear something like this as somebody that's a, you know, kind of criminal justice warrior. And you're like, man, the system isn't fair. Man, the system's fucked up. Okay, like, who's going to fight this?
No one is saying to stop it because the politics of fear are the politics of our country. But how many former prosecutors are sitting in executive offices and in the legislature right now? And the entire campaign is tough on crime because the minute you stop doing a really stupid policy and one person does something bad, it becomes the reason why the whole policy should go back in place again, even though people were still doing stuff that was bad when the policy was in place. Toby, can you talk about the international story we get here about how the war on drugs kind of crept outside of our borders?
Yeah, this is a story I kind of remember when it happened, which was a missionary family flying in a small plane in Peru was shot down by Peruvians who were sort of under the supervision of the CIA, although the CIA, I think, had, when you listen to the tapes on this thing, had some questions about whether they should actually shoot it down. And I can't remember the exact phrase they're using. They're like amigos or banditos or something.
Amigo or bandito, yeah.
See, I don't know if this is bandito or if it's amigo. Okay? Don't say. Okay. No,
that's one of the CIA contractors speaking really poor Spanish, telling the Peruvian Air Force pilot that he's not sure if the plane in question is a bandito or amigo, a bandit or a friend.
That kind of opens up into a larger discussion of the way our foreign policy has been conducted around these, you know, quote unquote drug producing states like Colombia, Peru, and how we're basically providing sort of military style assistance to people, to these countries to stop the drug flow, and how it just becomes a game of whack-a-mole, sort of. It's like you aid one country and the trade moves to another country, and then you aid that country and it moves back or moves to a third country. So it's just this sort of ineffective policy that really kind of destabilizes these countries, like undermines their sort of civic structure. At the same time, it's not being very effective in stopping the drug flow into the United States. And he pretty specifically ties it now to what's going on with Venezuela with the boats. I think this was recorded before we kidnapped Maduro, but it's just another part of the mosaic, right? It's like, you know, when you take this war metaphor as like actually a plan of action, that's what leads to all these things. It's what leads to, you know, having the CIA aiding the Air Force in Peru. It's what leads to no-knock raids and people being killed for very little reason. And so, yeah, it's just, it just builds this case against the war on drugs. And, you know, from the form that it was in when it started, and then to the form that it's in now, which is quite a bit different, but it sort of has the same sort of on the ground effects.
Yeah, I agree that it's crazy that, you know, when they're like amigo or bandito, that these missions are being run by these contractors whose Spanish is worse than Toby's.
Yeah. They can't say that your cat is good looking.
Why have we asked our contractor we found on Angie.com to be our kids' legal guardian? Because he took such good care when redoing our basement that we knew we could trust him to care for our kids, all 8 of them, should something happen to us.
Are you my dad now?
No, sorry, I do basements. Connecting homeowners with skilled pros for over 30 years. Angie, the one you trust to find the ones you trust. Find pros for all your home projects at Angie.com.
All right, let's do what we do. Let's let our listeners know. Should you check out the podcast Collateral Damage from the Intercept? Laura Bricker, thumbs up or thumbs down for this podcast?
Yeah, this is a thumbs up. This kind of reminds me of a season of like slow burn in the way that there is an issue and there is an incredible deep dive and depth of reporting that is done on that issue. And here the issue is, you know, our policies regarding the war on drugs, and does the damage done to people that get caught up in this in the police's so-called quest to, you know, get drugs off the street, like, does the end justify the means? And I think this presents a pretty good case. I don't think this is a spoiler that it does not. It's very convincing. They provide a very convincing argument. When I listen to something like this, I feel like I've taken like a college course because there is so much information. I would say my only sort of not favorite thing about this was, I mean, these episodes were an hour long and they were packed with information. They were extremely thorough. This is not the type of thing that you can listen to all at once, back to back, unless you have like a brain that can just digest that amount of information. For me, I had to space these out just because there was so much information. But at the same time, this is an issue that is extremely important to get out. I just hope that somebody does something about it at some point, because this had all of my justice hackles going up in a way that kind of tipped me over the edge. So it is a thumbs up.
Toby Ball, thumbs up or thumbs down for Collateral Damage?
It's funny that Laura said that thing about all the information, because I was listening to this walking around or like on a train, like where I didn't necessarily have something where I could take notes. And I was, it's like, okay, remember this. Yeah, I mean, Radley Balko is a journalist who I love. These are the subjects that he's worked his career on. So you're getting it from the right person. Each episode can be sort of a standalone, and they're sort of building this case. It's a mosaic, trying to give you an idea of the consequences to people of the drug war. I really liked it. The reporting is great. The contextualizing of the stories is great. And the overall effect of all of them together is, I think, really powerful, and I think pretty hard to come up with a very convincing counter argument to his conclusion. Inevitably, when you have 8 sort of standalones, some are going to be stronger than others, but I think just the baseline, like even like the least successful of them, is still really, really good. Like there weren't any of them where I was like, I wish they hadn't had that one in there. So anyway, this is a big thumbs up for me. Like Laura was saying, it's not like a casual listen, I would say. Like it does demand your attention, but it's just really high quality, interesting, and very important stuff, because it's looking back in history, but it's looking at a phenomenon that continues to today. So anyway, big thumbs up.
Kevin Flynn.
Yeah, I agree with Laura and Toby. I'm a big thumbs up. What I like about this is that it doesn't try to have like this one unifying investigation about the war on drugs. It's not trying to take that big a bite out of the story, but it has this perfect unifying theme that runs through it, which is to look at those who were needlessly killed by just the implementation of bad policy. And, sort of for the ideal that we should have no drugs in America. It's lofty, it's worth pursuing, but it's always at what price? And we have been too eager, or parts of our nation, people have been too eager to just say, oh, well, that's unfortunate that you were caught in the figurative or literal crossfire. And that's what this podcast is about. Really interesting stories on that theme. It doesn't try to come together and talk about it does touch on sort of the bigger issues of the war on drugs. We had a war on poverty. It wasn't actually warfare. We have a war on drugs, and it takes upon the aesthetic of an actual war, combat with the equipment and the tactics and the mindset. And that mindset includes that sometimes civilians are going to get killed, and that's what we have way too much of. And so I like that was the way to look at this and give us those kinds of stories. This is an excellent host and journalist, and we need to have more of his work in podcast form. Thumbs up.
I agree. I think it's a thumbs up. I will say, when I listen to a podcast like this, I find myself wondering, like, who is this for? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I feel the same way when I read like a very, very long investigation in the New York Times or in a different, outlet. Like, it takes commitment to decide to listen to this. It is dense. It is not going to make you feel good at all. But that doesn't mean that it's not very, very good. It's really hard to weave moments of lightness or a little bit of like brevity or like a different texture into a show like this. And that's, the one thing In the Dark does so well is they can take the most serious story in the world, and there are still small moments where they give you a little bit of like tonal relief from that story. This is not one of those shows. This story is this show is done in such a way where every single story you feel like a huge sense of dread and a lot of anger. So go into it with that idea like already in your mind, but also understand that you're listening to incredibly high quality journalism. It's a great place to put journalism into podcasts. It's podcast journalism. And not a lot of people are doing it. And I think Radley Balko did it exceptionally well here. So definitely listen to this and buckle up because it's not a super easy listen. All right, that's going to do it for us. But before we go, Laura Bricker, do we have a cat of the week this week?
We do. And I want to say thank you, all of our listeners. I have so many Cat of the Week nominations now. Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you. It's been a while.
Stack them up.
I'm stacking them up. I have so many. This one comes to us from Sierra. In the spirit of the season and the fact that we just had a big snowstorm, this is a Maine Coon cat.
Nice. They're huge.
I love Maine Coon cats. They're very regal. They're very majestic. They're kind of badass. They look like they're going to talk. So Sierra says, hey, y'all, I would like to nominate my Maine Coon kitten, Bertha Russell. If you know, you know, for Cat of the Week. It's been 2 months since adopting her, and this past weekend she has gone from ambivalence to my existence to class 1 clinger. Let's celebrate her warming up to me and never being able to pee in the bathroom alone again. Yes, my cat Rocky still knocks open the bathroom door, Sierra, so I feel your pain. It's like having a toddler around again.
I was just showing Kevin some pictures of how big Maine Coon cats are while you were talking.
Giant cats,
This one is large.
So big. They're so
large
big.
kitty. They're very, I love them.
It's like those giant Flemish rabbits. Have you ever seen those?
Yeah. They just look like they're going to start talking.
I know. They look like bobcats or something. They're awesome. All right, Laura Bricker.
Look for photos of the Cat of the Week in our newsletter today.
Yes.
If you haven't got it, sign up crimewriterson.com.
Laura Bricker, folks want to reach out to you and nominate their pets to be Cat of the Week. How can they find you online?
You can find me at Laura Bricker on Instagram and Blue Sky, or you can email us at our Crime Writers on email, which is where I got this nomination.
crimewriterson@gmail.com, or of course you can go to our awesome Facebook group. What about you, Toby? How can people find you online?
I'm at TobyBallNH on Blue Sky, at TobyBall603 on Instagram.
What What about you, Kevin?
I'm at Kevin P. Flynn.
You can find me everywhere at Reb Lavoie, and please listen to Something's Off on YouTube, or of course you can also get the audio version on our Patreon. Get everything we make at patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia. We have 1,000 episodes back there now?
We're almost up to 1,000.
Incredible.
900, I don't know, almost 950. Yeah.
That's patreon.com/partnersincrimemedia. There's a bunch of levels there you can choose. Our theme song was composed and performed by Tyler Gibbons, and our editor is the truly wonderful, very lovable Livy Burdett. The EP of this show is Kevin. This show is recorded at the Caitlin Rogers Project Studio, also known as Studio C, the closet in our New Hampshire basement, where we also go to great lengths to obtain 200 acres of Malibu Ranch property just to grow some weed. On behalf of all the crime writers, thanks so much for listening. We will catch you later.
Esteemed podcast producer, Livy Burdett.
Esteemed indeed.
And that's it.
That's it. I know that's it. Like, I froze. Sorry, Livy. Livy's like, he mentioned my name and then just froze and had nothing more to say about me.
That's right.
Son of a bitch.
I even
Flynn.
set you up. I said esteemed, and I looked at you and you were just blank.
Yeah, I was thinking steam, and I just
Keep
okay.
going. Keep
Let me
going.
try going. Yeah.
Partners in Crime Media.
Why have I asked my electrician I found on Angie.com to bury my pet hamster? I was so moved by how carefully he buried my electrical wires, I knew I could trust him to bury my sweet nibbles after his untimely end.
This is very strange. Angie, the one you trust to find the ones you trust. Find pros for all your home projects at Angie.com.